Hi there, and welcome back to Torment, Tides of Numenera. We're trying out another tomb code, and we can't expect to enter the code with the first Castoff's tomb and travel there. What will we find out about ourselves? You press the buttons 3, 4, 3, 1, the code Matkina gave you. As you press each button, a symbol illuminates on the surrounding hex. The fourth hexagon illuminates a field of energy forms around you. A tight sucking sensation pulls at your gut, and suddenly you are somewhere else. In another section of reality, it seems, not just the tombs. A bigger one, with statues in it. The first Castoff's tomb. What is that? These statues are all of the same person, the first Castoff presumably. Each of them wears a different mask, and we have the suspect that the first Castoff somehow killed the creator or something and overtook. Let's just look at everything we have here. This frieze appears to have been defaced. There are two figures facing each other in anger, but it's impossible to make out any more than that. And yeah, let's go in order. Let's see what we have here. Everything blurs. The carvings here display two figures standing side by side on a crag overlooking a plateau with a wide disc at its center. The scene is familiar. Yes, I remember even. A wave of dizziness envelops you, and you steady yourself against the rough stone. This does not help. The memory flows out through the stone in rumbling pulses, overtaking your senses. Yes, this scene is familiar because you experienced it firsthand when you rebuilt your mind in the labyrinth. And now here, the full memory awaits you. We want to know. The memory of that long day pours past you, cold as melting snow. You direct the first Castoff's gaze towards the resource-rich plateau, where Mirla West will one day stand. You ignore the laughter in her eyes when your own constructs turn on you and make the necessary repairs. And then the rush of time slows as she makes her way up a moss-hung path towards you, her eyes bright behind the mask. "I have something to show you," she says. "I've got it working," she says. "The doorway exists in two places at once, here and on the other side, once you align them." She lays her hands and forehead against the stone, as though worshipping the thing. Your lip curls involuntarily, but you can't fault the results. The portal activates, answering the welling glow on the first Castoff's tattoo behind her mask, beneath her mask. The flood of memory slows to a trickle, leaving you back in your body. You look over at the mural. Could that be the way to open the portal? We'll examine it. Though the two figures are faded, you can still make out a few necessary details. With the help of the memory you saw in the labyrinth, this frieze depicts the Changing God and the first Castoff overlooking that side of Mirla West. They are side by side, not master and servant, but equals. Looking closer at their faces, you notice something interesting. The first Castoff is shown wearing a mask, as you remember. The Changing God's face is chipped in places, as though someone tried to damage the frieze but failed. Is there more? It depicts the Changing God and the first Castoff during the founding of Mirla West. Nothing more to find out. But maybe here in this one. A bewildering array of colliding jagged edges and mangled corpses make up this frieze. It's not quite clear whether the artist was inspired, drunk, or insane. Ah, that's terrible. Ah. A battlefield is depicted here. Is that the endless war? That much is certain, but the amount of detail is staggering, and it isn't immediately apparent what the artist was trying to convey. Should we examine that? Let's be tough and examine it. We're nanos. I mean, we want to explore. The first detail you notice is the fortress, standing out from the wall in bold relief. Many of the soldiers shown are pouring through the sundered gates, and every one of their faces shows a different emotion: elation, rage, terror. But it is the jagged edges, seemingly raised at random, that pull your attention down to the bottom right of the piece. There lies the first cast-off of the changing god, mortally wounded, dying alone, as divergent realities snap shut around her like teeth. Once again you see soldiers pouring into a breached fortress, triumph edged across their angeless faces. You see the terrible cost of the battle spread out behind them in broken bodies and scattered limbs, and in a distant corner of the frieze, and as we examine again, you see the first cast of the changing god lying in the mud, dying alone. Is that why the new cast-offs are nearly immortal? We'll look at it again. And again. No, nothing new. So did the changing god made this tomb? We have to interact with that. Look, there's a face here. An alien mask. And the scene... Is that one of the combat? But this could be a god striking down whatever is there.
On it.
To face him or her. Is that a door? Will we open it?
Journal.
Stark letters have been carved into the rock above with a steady hand. Sharp memories emerge at the sight of the masked figure in the tableau. The first cast-off. Countless footsteps have worn a track to and apparently into this mural. This is a gateway of some kind, but you can see no way of opening it. Matkina must not have known that the portal would be closed, else she would have said something. Whoever deactivated it must have done so recently. You look around your area. Maybe examining the environment will give you some sort of clue. First we'll read the epitaph. Very prone to reading. Oddly, many of the words above are completely unreadable. It's not that they are in a language you don't understand. It's true that you recognize every letter. Every time you try to put it all together, the meaning slips from your mind. Maybe that part of the epitaph isn't meant for you. Your eye skips to the end of the message. She serves us still. So the first cast-off is still there. She serves us still is the only legible part of this epitaph. But we'll put our forehead against the door like we saw the first doing in our memory. You lay your hands on the cold stone as the first cast-off once did, and press your forehead against the mural. The skin around your tattoo crawls, then burns. But even with your eyes clenched shut, you feel the air of the tomb stirring. And it opens. And it glows.
I'm ready.
We'll enter. Is that the Paradise Garden? Where will we go from here? And where to? Finally, a place that is not devastated and desert.
I'm ready to learn something new.
If only our creator were here. It must be hard for you being wrong all the time. What is that? Pudge reckon again, this woman is dressed in functional glaive's clothing. Her hair is short and her face is muscular and tense. You recognize her instantly from Tash smear. Pudge reckon. She chews on the inside of her cheek before she speaks. Must admit, I'm surprised you made it in. You realize by breaking open the portal lock, you've made our sanctuary more vulnerable to the sorrow. But you probably don't care about the results of your actions, do you? The blundering pales beside the crimes of our creator, of course. I'm heading out to stop more of them. You can read no thoughts from her. They are muffled, as though something were interfering with them. Crimes? What crimes has our creator committed? Do you want a full litany? Ask someone else, because I haven't got the year to spare. The worst one is that he had plans to kill us, to sacrifice us to save his life. The first found out and took a stand to stop him, but she's dead now. We are stuck with me commanding in her memory, and meanwhile sycophants and lickspittles work for him for the privilege of being destroyed. For some incomprehensible reason, they've put their faith in the man who dropped us into a world of pain. And how did the first die really? She chews her cheek a moment as she lived, sacrificing herself for our lives. What were the plans of the changing god? To offer our lives in a mad sacrifice to stop the sorrow. He doesn't care about us, he doesn't care about anyone but himself. The other Castoffs who work for the changing god, maybe they believe in the salvation he offers. It might be. They are not idiots. In most other things, Pedrecan says it's true. But anyone with eyes, it's clear that he's lying to them. He's leading them into death. Because he's too frightened to face it himself. So maybe he's created the sorrow by being immortal. That the other part of him. And the other thing is about Mazov. We need to find him. Is he here? Pedrecan's eyes narrow. No one has seen Mazov in over a decade. Ardiris might know where he is. Talk to her. Her voice softens. Ardiris might be the best of us. Treat her well, or I'll be sure you pay in blood and in pain. And what did you mean when you said I'd made this sanctuary more vulnerable? Pedrecan, there are rumors that sorrow activity has increased recently. I don't buy the stories, but many of them do. She points a thumb behind her to the other Castoffs. Your brothers and sisters, your family. Even if the sorrow isn't more active, it's still active. And they came here to be safe. Pedrecan looks at you pityingly for a moment. Use your mind and think about it. If a door is locked and you kick in the frame, how well is the door going to keep out other intruders? Well, you should have let me in before. I mean... Be that as it may, I have important information to share. Because that's also our philosophy, information sharing. Not with me, Pedrecan says. I'm not interested in what you have to say, frankly, and I have a great deal of work waiting for me. If you want to express your delight in your new life or share a moment of happy fraternity with your siblings, I suggest you go talk to Ardiris. She will give you the validation you seem to require. I'm not sure we like Pedrecan. She seems pretty hostile to us. I know you. I know what you did in Corn village. Oh, Matkina told you. What a surprise. She's generally so quiet about her feelings. She adjusts her sword belt. Corn was a pity, a tragedy, but it had to happen that way. I've been a warrior for most of my centuries. I know about making sacrifices in service of a higher ideal. I've stopped losing sleep over them. Live long enough and you will understand. Yeah, higher ideals. The number one excuse for doing terrible things throughout history. But how would we react to that? We're not emotional. We just ask if there was no alternative. It had to happen that way? What about letting the villagers survive? Do you realize what we lost that night? Do you realize what we gained? You weren't there. You've never even met me before, but you think to judge my actions of 200 years ago. The stakes here are more important than a few monsters. We are fighting for our survival, you damned infant, and I won't let you moralize at me while I'm trying to save our life. Well, Anyways, we've got a message for you. I ran into Berikael. She said she had a message for you, but couldn't get in. Well, how very useful of you. Next time I want someone informed that I have a message for them, but cannot send it, I know just who I'll come to. She gives you the most patronizing smile you've ever seen. It's like she's practiced. Still, we need to know as much information as we get. Even if we have to swallow these toads all the time. Where are you headed now? Back to the endless battle, of course. I've been leading our side against the forces of the coward ever since the first died, Her Jortensis, before you ask. My side, the side of the first, we are in a struggle to survive, to protect ourselves against our father's plan. The other side, they want him to win. You want more details, get them from someone else here. I've got a war to fight. Tell me about Adiris, by the way. She has the qualities the rest of us do not. A peaceful, idealistic nature. She wants only the best for all Castoffs. She rises above our rivalries. Her idealism is frustrating at times, but she has the wisdom and insight in her gentle nature. Yeah, she sounds just about like she wouldn't have done the war crime, right? I want to talk about our sire again. If you must. Well, okay. Let me ask about something else. And don't let me keep you any longer. Something to say to your compatriot first. She stares at Calistique, studying her and her sisters. Now that our sibling rivalry is out of the way, let's talk about you. You fractured yourself on purpose, didn't you? Calistique lifts her chin imperiously. Of course I did. Word of advice, then. Padrekan says, undo it. I've seen other people try to make themselves more than human, like the coward, for instance. And all it gains you is a lifetime of loneliness and centuries of regret. Never seen it work out for anyone, she shrugs, but you people will do what you must. She turns back to you. There's no point in arguing with her. I just want to get the information. We'll remain silent for now. I have one more thing to say to you, and I want you to mark it carefully. The Changing God, the coward, intends to kill us all. If you meet him, don't trust him. He's going to ruin us as surely as the sorrow. She turns and strides away. I'd wish you success, but... well, the world has a way of disappointing us all. What a depressing person, come on. Without him, you'd be running for your life instead of standing here and running your mouth. No, I shouldn't. I don't think her rival is ominous. Padrekan. Well, that said, thank you for watching. And happy gaming to you. We'll explore this strange place of odd tentacles and strange beings in the next episode further. Have a great time until then. And happy gaming.